that we are going to be able to call office by the end of this year.
Call
We will
office. What does
know,
that mean? Call office.
up until this point, we have been in a series of fairly steady flux. Just when we thought things were plateauing at about things down 35%, they jumped another level. And oh, all of a sudden it was about May, and we saw this significant increase in visits to office.
Hmm.
And it was about 5% difference in the nationwide level. So in some cities, this is more, in other cities, it's less. But I think by the end of this year, we're going to see things recovered at about 75 to 80% of what they were pre-pandemic, which is going to
Okay.
land somewhere in the 3 to 4 days mark.
Okay.
And that's going to put retailers and put restaurants who are well set up for that change in a good situation. And those who haven't yet adapted, you need to adapt and adapt quickly, because I think that's where we're going to end up seeing things. And we'll see that by the end of this year.
And Ethan, let me pause you for a second. What makes a retailer or a restaurant chain well adapted for that eventuality in your mind?
Okay. So let's take, I'm a restaurant that sits in an office park and expects steady traffic to my restaurant between 12 and 2, Monday through Friday. If you are building on that, you are going to be in trouble, because
Really?
it's
Okay.
not going to be there on
It's not
Monday
coming
and it's
back enough.
not going to be there on Friday.
Okay.
It will be there Tuesday through Thursday, most likely. But you need to have another strategy to augment what you're doing, because you're going to get hit on those edges of the week. I think if you are a retailer that leaned hard into people working from home, or you're a cafe, let's stay with the restaurant space. You're a cafe that leaned hard into people who are working from home during that Monday and Friday, and you have deals that draw them in on the afternoon. That is amazing. If you're a grocery chain that has been really effective at giving users a good experience when they come in at 10 a.m. on a Monday, as opposed to 7 p.m. on a Wednesday night when they're on their way back from work, you have done a really good job and you're going to benefit from that change. I think that's what we mean by that. The
Okay.
other mix, though, is migration. And I think migration is pretty settled. We're seeing a much flatter line in terms of the changes we're seeing. And we're seeing those areas that gained people during the pandemic kind of hold on to those gains, and those areas that lost take that hit, except where we had the kind of the seasonal. So I live in Chicago and then go down to Phoenix for the winter. That those changes are really significant. And I think that means if I'm a retailer, or if I'm looking at retail, I think we need to understand a lot of the movement of retailers from cities to suburbs, or suburbs to cities, or from certain areas to other areas of the country, as a part of chasing their audience, not as some other third factor. Audiences moved, it's pretty clear where they went, and retailers have been adjusting for the last year, and they're going to continue to adjust. And I think we need to keep that in mind whenever we're understanding those changes.
Which
This is
goes back to a little bit about what we talked about before, right,
yeah.
Annie?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah, just seeing like I think the shift too, even in return to office behavior too. I mean, yes, you're in the office, but people have grown accustomed to a little bit more flexibility in their day. And so to Ethan's point, I think making sure that you're working on getting traffic into your QSR at different day parts and at flexible day parts, and really making sure that you have a strategy, it sounds like, in order to keep the that traffic makes the most sense here. Ethan, is that what we're gathering from these?
100%. If
Yeah.
you need to communicate effectively with, and you need to incentivize your consumer. And that could be great product, and that could be great prices, and that could be a great relationship. But if you don't focus on, the consumer has more power, that power might be slightly diminished because they're coming in 3 to 4 days as opposed to 1 to 2 days, but it's still significantly more than it was pre-pandemic.